Let's talk today about right arm pitfalls in the downswing. So a lot of golfers do this wrong when they're either trying to shadow the club or when they're hitting normal shots. So what I see with a lot of amateur golfers is this right arm misbehaves in the backswing and downswing. So I really want to talk about how it should work a little bit better throughout the swing. What we see in the backswing is the right arm tends to overbend and get over deep, which is this way. And then from there, you have no real option apart from kind of turn and throw and get the club over the top. If you swing down from the inside from there, you're going to get more trapped. You can't get any more trapped than that. And then from there, the only way you can hit the golf ball is really throw your wrists hard on it. So we really want to feel that the arm's going to work a lot better. So we don't want to be trapped. We don't want to get the arm throwing out towards the golf ball too much. What we tend to find is the rotation elements will throw the arm out, and the arm should work a bit more in a downward movement. And the combination of those two of those get a nice blend, so we get the hand path in the right slot. We definitely don't want the hand path too far out or too far in. It's kind of got to have that combination. And the thoughts for me should be about, can we get the right bend in the arm and the right placement in the backswing? And then can we lower the right arm correctly and let the arm straighten without throwing away those lag angles and wrist angles? That's kind of the key things we're talking about today. So in the backswing, I want this arm to bend, ideally slightly less than 90 degrees. And 90 degrees would be the max you'd want it to bend. For me, ideally, if you can get it slightly less than 90 degrees. And then as we swing down from there, I always talk about staying closed. We want to feel that, again, the arm and rotation are blended really. So it's a tilt, the arm straightens, and the rotation happens. So it gets the arm into this kind of slot here. Now, if I just rotate from the top or rotate too early from the top, it's going to want to throw this hand path out. If I just lower the arm, it's going to end up going too deep. We want to have the blend with the correct rotation in the backswing and the arm obviously nice and wide and not too deep. Then what happens from there is obviously we get the arm lowering and probably feel there's a bit of tilt and then the rotation for me. So the rotation is happening pretty early, but we definitely want to tilt and we'd want the lower half to lead. The lower half is definitely moving first. That gives this upper body, upper torso a bit of tilt as the arm would lower. And this arm, as it lowers, is definitely straightening. This angle is straightening. And my wrist is actually slightly widening as well. But I'm not consciously trying to do that. And I wouldn't encourage you to. I wouldn't encourage you either to try and feel like you pull it in too much. Because if you try and pull it in, we tend to get this arm getting in tight and very narrow. We want the arm to be able to go in front of the rib cage a little bit more and the elbow to beat the hand as his arm straightens and lowers. That's the key. If you're able to do that in the right sequence, your ball striking will just become so easy. And I'm not saying that I do this every time. I don't. I'd like to do this better. But we want to feel that the elbow kind of gets forward by lowering and the tilt and the rotation all combining to get this look. So at this point here, you see my elbows ahead of my wrist joint. And obviously I've still got the club up parallel to the ground. That is what we're looking for. A good sign of any good ball striker is this hand would be opposite this trail leg and the club is parallel to the ground. Some elite players will have it slightly above parallel. The odd one or two will be below parallel, but they'll tend not to be as long a hitters or as dynamic movers through the golf ball as the ones that get it parallel or above. That's really what we're working on. So how do we feel that? How do we train that? Well, exactly what I'm doing here really. Take your lead hand, put it behind your trail elbow, work it to the top, feel this less than 90 degree bend, and from there feel the tilt and lowering and then the rotating to center the arm and pull the arm forward. So that happens, and if you want to add a bit of lateral to the hips in too, that's all good. So just pressing that move is what we want to feel as much as we can. And the idea is really we want to try and feel our hand gets probably around about my trail foot or just past it, and my elbow is slightly ahead. I've talked before about this slap hand drill with the elbow. It kind of does exactly the same thing. But the key is not to feel like we kind of overbend this elbow in that transition area to try and get it in front of our rib cage or to try and increase that lag. That definitely becomes with lots of pitfalls. We end up getting kind of like this And I said very trapped, very cupped generally in the lead hand when we do that. And then from there, it means you have to throw your lag away very fast and very early, so you end up in the worst position than doing it the way I want to talk to you about. So once you've got that feel, 2 hands on the club, same movement, and then try and hit a ball nice and slowly, try and produce that golf swing. Again, that felt great. So if I was going to step on the golf course now, I'd ideally like to do a rehearsal swing that would look exactly like that, and then go ahead and hit a golf ball. Let's set up a bit of a visual task for you to do just to help the same moves. Okay, very simply, just 2 alignment rods. So if I take my setup to the ball, going towards that target, in my downswing, if I load my shaft onto that alignment rod there directionally, that gives me a fraction of an inside delivery position, which means then when I rotate and hit the ball, that club will square up. Also, this rod here is just a point to try and get the grip of the club past that position while still in this direction. And ideally, so parallel to the ground or better. So those visuals on the ground just help me feel what I want to try and do. And if you're a visual learner, that's going to help you. For me, I probably like the practice swings more, but you can combine the both things together to give you some feels and some visuals to try and get this right arm working better in the top of the backswing and the downswing. Golf becomes easy when you get these things right. Give it a go.